The Naked DJs podcast. Are they really naked? We know. They expose themselves every day just so they can bring you the best of music. They like to stick it out there for everyone to hear. You can hear their podcast on anchor.fm, YouTube, and any of your favorite podcast platforms. Welcome to the Living the Dream podcast with Curveball. If you believe, you can achieve. Welcome to the Living the Dream with Curveball podcast, a show where I interview guests that teach, motivate, and inspire. Today, I am joined by live streamer and podcaster Shelley Carney. Shelley teaches live streamers and podcasters all over the world how to get their dreams and passions out to the world. She has been involved in a lot of projects, so we're going to be talking to her about everything that she's up to and all that she's doing to help the streaming community. So Shelley, thank you so much for joining me today.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Why don't you start off by telling everybody a little bit about yourself?
All right. I am what is called an encore entrepreneur. That means I am in the second half of life, and I have a online home-based business, and I'm also a coach. I teach people how to live stream and podcast and blog at the same time every week so that they can fill up their content marketing strategy with content that they can produce consistently with the framework that I teach them.
Well, tell us about how you got your start and what made you decide you wanted to help the world.
Well, I got into filmmaking in 2011. I took a class at the local community college to become a film technologist or film tech crew member, basically. And in that process, I became a producer because nobody else was stepping up. And I was one of the older people in the class. So I stepped up and I said, I will be a producer. I will come up with a project and everybody else can be on the team and we'll create this web series. So we created an 8-part web series during the class, and everybody got to practice their craft. So by the end of the year, we had eight episodes for our web series. From there, I went to public access television, and I met my current business partner, Toby Younis, and we worked on several projects together, talk shows, short films, and then we got into live streaming together. We had a business called Streaming New Mexico, and we had a team, and we did live streaming for corporations and events and that sort of thing. And then it got to be a lot for people our age to haul that equipment all over the state. So we decided to sell that business and just do live streaming on YouTube and Facebook. And we grew a channel about the Forrest Fenn treasure hunt. Forrest Fenn was a man who lived in Santa Fe, and he had hidden a treasure that was worth about $2 million. And there were many people looking for it, using a book, which he put out as sort of a treasure map, treasure clues within his poem. And we would go on every week and talk about that treasure hunt. And we did that for 3 years until the treasure was found in 2020. Then we pivoted and we wrote our own treasure hunt book called A Gypsy's Kiss, a Treasure Hunt Adventure. And this was a story from Toby's life from 1964 when he was a teenager living in Santa Fe, and he was at a boarding school, and he took it into his mind that he wanted to run off to Mardi Gras. So he borrowed his uncle's motorcycle and rode it from New Mexico to New Orleans. And we tell that story in A Gypsy's Kiss. And that started our treasure hunt. And our treasure was found within just a few months. So at that point, we had to pivot again. And that's when we decided to get into helping people learn to live stream, because so many people had come to us asking, how do I set up a YouTube channel? How do I do what you're doing? So we were teaching it anyway. we thought, let's just turn that into a business. So we've been helping people online. Every Wednesday, we have a show called Messages and Methods live on YouTube, and people can tune in and ask us questions and learn about live streaming, podcasting, and blogging. And we just put out a book today. Actually, we're not even really announcing it until tomorrow. It's called it's called Livecast Life, a content creator's lifestyle. And it's a brand new book that we just put out. And we talk about our lifestyle and how we live stream every week. And it's a great start for people who are interested in learning more about it.
For the encore entrepreneurs, give some tips on what they can do to compete in today's digital market space.
Well, absolutely. Then we have been interviewing a group of digital marketing experts for our next book, and everybody's telling us the same thing, that content is so important. You have to produce content and get it out there. That's the only way that people are going to find you and learn about you and understand who you are and what it is that you do. So that's for the encore entrepreneur who is maybe a little bit behind the times because they didn't grow up with the technology. Sometimes that technology can be an obstacle. It can get in their way because, they're just not comfortable with it. Maybe they're not comfortable being on screen or putting their face and their message out in the world. So we can help walk them through that mindset of, that they are message and people need to hear that message. So we walk them through the mindset and the technology. We give them very simple technology that anybody can use. It's very user friendly. It's very low budget, so they can get started right away. And that is specifically intended for the encore entrepreneur, because that's what we are, and we kind of understand, where encore entrepreneurs are coming from, what kind of obstacles they're running into. Usually they understand business. They know how to do marketing. They're familiar with social media and all of that, but it's just those two things that get in their way. It's the mindset and that technology piece. And then, of course, being consistent with it once they've got it down.
For those who don't know, explain to people what live casting is and how can live casting benefit the online business owner.
Okay, sure. Live casting is kind of a word that I put together. So it's live streaming and podcasting, and you do it at the same time. We do a live stream video every Wednesday, and that's live. We're on at 1:00 on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and once that's done, once that presentation is done, then we take the audio and upload that as a podcast. So we are on all of these different platforms all at the same time. Your audio goes to podcasts, so people have that option to multitask when they listen to you. They can listen to you as they're doing other things, washing the dishes or going for a walk and that sort of thing. So a lot of people are very into podcasting, so we try to do both at the same time. And an encore entrepreneur or any entrepreneur can use this method to be very consistent and stay motivated with getting their content done every week. Because when you commit to, I'm going to be there every Wednesday at 1:00, then your audience shows up for that. And, it's sort of a contract. I have to be there because my audience is going to be there. And the audience says I have to be there because they're going to be there to answer my questions. So it's this social contract that we have. And it keeps us motivated, keeps us consistent, keeps us producing content, and it builds those engaged relationships between us and our audience.
You published Women in Podcasting book. Tell us about that book and tell us the methods that you use to get it published.
All right. So my partner and I, we attended the She Podcasts Live conference in Arizona in October 2021. And when we went, we decided we wanted to get something really tangible from the conference. Not just attend the speeches and meet up with the exhibitors, but we wanted something more. So we took our field equipment with us to record interviews with the attendees while we were there. And while we were there, we we scheduled appointments with people. They would come back to the suite. They would record an interview with us. And by the end of the weekend, we had 18 interviews with podcasters and people in ancillary businesses such as Edison Research and podcast editors and that sort of thing. So we took each of those interviews and we put them up as a podcast episode. And we also transcribed those interviews and used that material. We edited into a book. So the book itself has an introduction, the 18 interviews, then a summarizing ending chapter, and that's all in one book. And within the book, we talk about how we put the things together, what equipment we used, what forms we filled out, what, each step of the process was. So it's not just a book of interviews. It's also how to get those interviews and how to create that book from those interviews.
For the people looking to gain visibility and credibility online with their business, give us some tips on the quickest way to do that.
Content. There's 3 C's actually, and it starts with content, creating that content. And the second C is campaigns. Campaigns would be things like 5-day challenge or email blast or a free offer of a webinar or something that brings people into funnel, or something like a membership. Maybe you're launching a membership. Maybe you do that once a year or every 6 months. These are the campaigns that take your content and send them out to people and people to come back and work with you. And then the third pillar of it is collaboration. So you want to reach out to people who are, now for us, we share an audience with digital marketing professionals. So that's why we work with them. We found somebody who has a similar audience, who does a similar work, but it's not exactly the same. And then we collaborate with them. We brought 6 people on to our show and we did a panel show. And then we brought people on one at a time to do interviews to create a book. And I have started collaborating with another podcaster that we met at She Podcast, and she and I started doing a podcast together called Women Conquer Business. So there's many ways you can collaborate with people who are in a similar industry that you are, maybe not exactly the same, because you might run into some competition there. But if it's somebody who has a very similar audience to yours, find ways to collaborate with them. And those 3 pillars will take you very far, very quickly.
Give us some tips on simplifying our content marketing strategy.
Simplify your content marketing strategy. So you want to have the same content strategy, tactics, calendar that you use every week. Figure it out. What am I going to do? So for me, on Mondays, I do my LinkedIn newsletter. On Tuesdays, I do my email newsletter. On Wednesdays, I do my live stream. On Fridays, and post the blog. So I have, every day is assigned to something that is part of the content creation process, so that it builds a portfolio very quickly and keeps it very simple. When you're doing, every day has one thing that you need to do, and you need to get one thing done each day. That's not going to take you that much time. It takes 1 hour to do our live stream, and it takes maybe 2 or 3 hours to edit a blog to make it look really great. So, you want to plan for that ahead. Once you have that into your calendar and block off those times, then it's very easy to stay really consistent with it. And the more you do it, the quicker you get at it.
Do you have any current or upcoming projects that you're working on that people need to know about?
Well, like I said, we just put out our new book, the Livecast Life book, on Amazon. And like you said, we have the Women in Podcasting book also on Amazon. We just put that out February 1st. So you can see how quickly you can create a book and turn things around doing this method. And then the next book we'll be putting out is a digital marketing book. We're just going to talk about digital marketing tactics for 2022. And that's a series of interviews that we're doing with digital marketers. And that should be out in the summer. So we have a lot of books, and of course, you're always welcome to join us live online on Wednesdays at 1:00, and that's Mountain Daylight Time. And you can find all of our content at livecast.life. So if you forget anything else, don't forget the words livecast life.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you, your contact information. So livecast.life. Remember that, guys, and be sure to check them out. Close us out with some final thoughts. Anything that I did not talk about that you would like to talk about, or any tips for the live streamers and stuff out there?
I think the best thing to do is just get started. A lot of us worry about it's got to be perfect. It doesn't sound perfect. I don't have great equipment. I don't look really great. Doesn't matter. Nobody cares what you look like except you. Nobody cares what I look like except me. They just like to know that I'm smiling and I'm happy, and I like to share information. And that's all people really want to know is, you're happy, you're smiling, you're sharing, and you just want to connect with people. And when they feel like that, they feel that welcome, then everything else will just flow. So just get started and focus on the people in your audience and what they need.
Ladies and gentlemen, livecast.life, Shelley Carney. Be sure to follow, rate, review, share this episode, any live streamers that you might know, or to anybody who will find this information useful. And go to the Living the Dream with Curveball podcast app on the Google Play Store and download it and check it out, all you Android users. Shelley, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for asking. I appreciate it.
For more information on the Living the Dream podcast, visit www.djcurveball.com. Until next time, stay focused on living the dream.